right? So we discuss about the SD-WAN, that what is the SD-WAN, right? So using the SD-WAN, you can use the multiple link, right? You can bundle them together, WAN link, and you can transfer the traffic through those WAN link. Basically, it is dynamically sending the traffic, uh, dynamically selecting the best link to send the traffic, uh, to send to send WAN traffic, right? And interface selection would be based on the rule which we create under the SD-WAN, right? Or it would be based on the SLA, or it would be based on the traffic criteria. How the rule matching? It is top to down. Whatever the first rule match, that is going to be applied. And the fallback, if there is no rule matches, it is using the implicit rule. So what is the meaning of this? Let me tell you. So this is the lab. On this lab, I have configured, SD-WAN for these two link, port 1 and port 2. This is my data center firewall, right? And on the data center firewall, we have LAN and we have two WAN link. WAN 1 is a port number 1, which is going through this router over the internet, right? And WAN 2 is a port number 2, which is going through this router over the internet, right? So whatever the LAN devices we have, if they just want to access internet, they would be accessing the internet through this data center firewall. However, these two link is right now is part of SD-WAN, port number 1 and port number 2. So basically what is happening, by default, it would be using, you know, implicit rule. If you don't have any rule to transfer the traffic of the SD-WAN, it would be using implicit rule to transfer the traffic, which means, let me show you. If I try to access my firewall, this is firewall. And if you see this firewall, so we have the SD-WAN, right? This is the SD-WAN. And in this SD-WAN, we have WAN 1 and WAN 2 as of now. And if you see the SD-WAN rule, so right now there is no rule, but there is an implicit rule. There is no custom rule, but this implicit rule. And what this implicit rule is saying, this rule is saying that transfer the 80% traffic through the WAN 1 and 20% traffic through the WAN 2, right? So what would be this? This would be doing 80% traffic, it would be passing through port number 1, and 20% traffic it would be passing through port number 2. So that's what the rule is saying. I can select over here different type of load balancing, right? Which we are going to discuss in some time. So as of now, this is based on the session, but by default, it is based on the source and destination IP, source IP, basically. So what would happen? By default, it would be using the source IP to transfer the traffic. That means from the LAN, if the PC1 is trying to send the traffic, so PC1 traffic would go through port number 1, and if PC2 is trying to send the traffic, it would be using port number 2 by default, right? Because it is doing the load balancing among the WAN link. So if you haven't defined any rule, it is going to use implicit rule there, right? So that was the meaning of the slide which I was trying to present. So rule matching is a top to down. When I say top to down, that means whatever the rule you are going to define over here. For example, if I create my own rule over here, okay, so that is going to prefer the first rule. If there is no rule, then this is going to use implicit. So rule matching is top to down. First match, it is going to be applied, and the fallback, if there is a no rule, it is going to use implicit rule. So moving to next, if I talk about the key characteristics of the SD-WAN rule, so it is similar like a policy route. Okay. So like for policy route, we have created rule. Similar, we can create the rule for this SD-WAN. In the SD-WAN rule, what we can define that what would be the outgoing interface, right? And for this, it is required a forwarding information database entry, right? And if there is no forwarding database entry, then it is going to use implicit rule. Okay, if I talk about the SD-WAN strategy overview, so it is going to define the requirement for the preferred member. So when you are creating your own rule for the load balancing of the traffic, you can do the traffic load balancing based on the manual mechanism. You can do the traffic load balancing based on the best quality. You can do the traffic load balancing in the SD-WAN using a lowest cost. And you can also use the maximize bandwidth option for the load balancing. What is the meaning of this? So this is my SD-WAN. I can create manual rule, right? Here we have implicit rule, right? But I can create my manual rule over here. So when I would create my rule over here, I can do the load balancing based on the different mechanism, right? I can select the manual one. So when I'm selecting the manual one, I can prefer that which interface should be preferred one and which interface should not be preferred one. So if I select like this, WAN 2 would be preferred interface and all the traffic would be going through the WAN 2. If WAN 2 is not available, okay, then we can use WAN 1. So that's what this manual is saying. Okay. You can change in different way as well. You can select that only for a specific source or destination. The manual rule should be WAN 1 or WAN 2 that you can define. So we are going to see them practically. But if I talk about the rule of the load balancing, we can use any of the four rule for the load balancing. We can define manual, we can define best quality, lowest cost, maximum bandwidth. So what is the meaning of these one? So manually means we are selecting the manual things there. Okay, in the manual strategy, there is no health check. Okay, so when you're defining the manual one, at that time you don't need to define any SLA. So if I select the manual, I don't need to define the SLA. But if I select best quality over here, apart from manual, if I select any other one, then I have to define this part, major SLA as well. I would talk about this, what is a major SLA, but for the manual, this SLA is not required. Only SLA is required for the best quality or lowest cost, maximize it. So in the manual strategy, there is no health check required and traffic follow the first available interface based on the preference. Member matrix not consider. So member matrix means this part. So if I talk about SD-WAN. So in the SD-WAN, we have the interfaces, right? So this is the interface. In the interface, this cost and priority are the metrics. So when we selected the manual one, at that time, this cost and priority is not considered during the WAN route setup. Right. So let's go to next part. The best quality strategy. In best quality strategy, what it is happening, it is choosing the path based on the network performance. Okay, and default quality is a threshold should be 10%, right? So that means if the threshold is 10% for any particular interface, okay, at that time that interface would be configured as a preferred interface, right? And for this, we can define different criteria to choose the preferred interface. We can use latency, we can use jitter, we can use packet loss, we can use downstream, upstream, or we can create a custom profile like weight, etc. So when we select this part, a best quality, at that time we can say what would be the preference for the interface, maybe WAN 1 or WAN 2, right? And apart from this, we can define the SLA over here, right? We can define the SLA part over here. And in the SLA, we can define latency, we can define jitter, we can define downstream, or we can use the custom profile as well. Okay, so that's what the meaning of that part. So best quality custom link cost factor, we can use the latency. Latency means select the link based on the particular latency. For example, if the link WAN 1 link latency is, let's say, 64 millisecond and WAN 2 latency is a 74, so preferred one is the lowest latency interface. Okay, we can use jitter, we can use packet loss, downstream, upstream bandwidth. Okay, the next one we have a lowest cost. So the interface which have a lowest cost and SLA is matching, then that interface would be preferred interface for the transferring the traffic. We have another one, maximize bandwidth. So in this strategy, if you use maximize bandwidth part, so at that time both link can use, right, and they can do the load balancing of the traffic. Okay, it would be by default round robin, but you can ignore this based on the cost and priority. So I'm going to show you all these things, uh, SD-WAN part, right? So as of now, you can see I have WAN 1 and WAN 2. And if I show you the policy currently, so this policy is saying LAN to internet. That means any source on the LAN want to go over the internet, it can, it is allowed by default, and all session are being logged over here. So first of all, I'm going to show you whether I can access internet through these PC or not. And after that, I'm going to show you different type of load balancing mechanism. Uh, okay, when I say load balancing mechanism, that means how my firewall is going to choose that which link should be used to transfer the data of these LAN system over the WAN. So for example, I'm going to show you whether we have WAN connectivity or not. So I would click on this PC. Let's open its command prompt. This is PC1 and this is PC2. And as of now, from PC1, I would try to just a moment. Hopefully, screen is visible for to you. I'm not sure if I can increase the font size. Let's try. So this is the PC1, and then we have PC2. Let me open the terminal of both PC and show you whether these PC can access the internet or not. So let me just try to ping 8.8.8.8. I'm able to ping, and I can ping using PC2 as well. Ping 8.8.8.8. I can ping. Now, when I'm trying to ping, how I would know that it is using which link, my traffic is going through which particular link. So for that, I can go to the firewall, and in the firewall, we have dashboard option. In the dashboard option, we can see the 40 view session. So we can see all the session which is going through as of now. And by default, you can see the destination interface. Usually the destination interface column would not appear over here. So you need to go to config table, and here you have to enable these things. So if I disable, that would go on, right? And if I enable that column destination interface, that is appearing over here. So by default, you can see when I'm trying to ping from this source to this destination, it is using WAN 2 link. And when I'm trying to ping from another source, 10.0.2.2, it would be using WAN 1 link. That means my traffic is getting load balance through the SD-WAN itself. How it is doing the load balance? As of now, we don't have any load balancing rule in the SD-WAN. If I go to network SD-WAN, and if I see the SD-WAN rule, I don't have. So by default, um, it is using implicit rule, and using this implicit rule, my traffic is being load balanced. So you can see my traffic is getting load balanced based on the source IP, right? It is doing the load balance based on the source IP. Since source IP are different, this source IP and this source IP are different. So if it is going to any particular any destination, this source IP is going to any destination, it would be using WAN 2 link, and this source IP is using going any destination, it would be using WAN 1 link. Okay, I can try to ping any other destination as well. For example, let me try to ping yahoo.com. Let me ping google.com. Always, if I see the traffic over here, see, if I filter the traffic based on the source, this source 2.1 is always using WAN 2 link, and 2.2 is using WAN 1 link to transfer the data. I can do the filter. I can add the filter based on the source IP, and says 2.1. You can see it is using always WAN 2, and 2.2, this is using WAN 1. It is using always WAN 1. So that's how my traffic is getting load balanced. As of now, this is doing the load balance of the traffic based on the source IP. We have another mechanism based on which we can do the load balancing using implicit rule as well. So another mechanism we have in the implicit rule, let me stop this. In the implicit rule, we have another mechanism to do the load balancing. Let's go to network, SD-WAN, and this is the SD-WAN rule. And there I can do the load balancing in a different way as well. I can do the load balancing source and destination, right? So if I use source and destination, what would happen? From, let's say, in the source and destination, what is happening? Let me open MS Paint. So let's consider that I have this source, I have two source and two different destination, and my traffic is going through this is firewall. So maybe from this source, if this is, let's say, 10.0.2.1, and this is 10.0.2.2. let's say. My traffic, let's say, is going in this way. My traffic is going in this way. Right now, 2.1, if it is going to google.com, for this source and this destination, let's say it is using WAN 1 link. Virtually, let's say it is using WAN 1 link. But as soon as I would change my destination, what would happen? It would start using WAN 2 link. How I can know? As of now, my traffic is based on the source and destination IP, right? So I have select this load balancing. Let me just remove the all the session. Okay, there is no active session. Now I would try to start ping from here. So this is ping PC1. Ping 8.8.8.8. Okay. I don't know as of now which particular, link it is using, but I can do one thing. If I run the command trace route 8.8.8.8, I can see that which particular link it is using. It is using 3.254. 3.254 is a WAN 1 link. So as of now, my traffic is going through WAN 1 link. If I ping, right now I have pinged 8.8.8. Now I'm changing, my destination. So for example, I would try to ping yahoo.com. Okay, and we'll see that for yahoo.com whether it is changing the destination or not. Destination link or not. Trace route yahoo.com. As of now, it is going using 3. What about facebook.com? Okay, it's a 3.254. Let me use any other destination. Trace route google.com. It is also going to the 3.4. Let's see, trace route yahoo.com. It's not using different link. It is using same link to transfer the data. However, in the load balancing, I have mentioned that use the link sorry, choose the link based on the source and destination. So if this PC is going on a same source, sorry, same destination, so that means it would be using WAN 1. But if the destination is being changed, at that time it should use port number 2, which is WAN 2 link, but it is not going through the WAN 2 link. So problem is, since this is a virtual network, and that's why there is a problem sometimes. If I remove this link and try to add this link back again, let me just delete this and let's try to add the link back. In some time, it should fix. Let me just do this. Trace route yahoo.com, trace route facebook.com, trace route 8.8.8.com, trace route yahoo.com, Oh. See, WAN 2 is not being used as of now. I know that this is the problem of this virtual link. Anyhow, it is not able to sense the virtual link, and that's why it is not. Else, you would be able to see that it would be you going using WAN 2 as well. I have chosen source and destination, but it's not going through. Let's do one thing. Let's clear all active session which we have. And then try. Trace route fb.com. Ping trace route facebook.com. Now it is still going through this link, which is, so this is problem of virtual link. If you have a physical one, then it must be using, you know, second link over here. If I select load balancing based on the source and destination, it should use source and destination IP. At that time, that for different destination, it should use different link. If a source is going to different destination, it should use different destination one. So this is not working as of now. And if you see that here, if you see over here, you would be able to see that maximum traffic is going using WAN 1 link, and WAN 2 link, only few of the traffic is going. So what I would do the load balancing based on the session. So let's go here on the SD-WAN. Let's edit it and say do the load balancing based on the session. So when I selected the session, I would say that 20% traffic should go using WAN 1, or maybe 10% traffic only, and 80% traffic should go using 90% traffic should go using WAN 2. So I have selected this. So this is my rule, which is saying that through this SD-WAN, 80%, 90% traffic would be going through WAN 2, and now 10% traffic would be going through WAN 1. Okay, so let's do this. Let's check whether that is happening or not.